Welcome everybody. Today we're going to be talking about anti-homeless architect. Huh? What? You don't recognize me? I'm your favorite YouTube channel. What are you talking about? You're crazy. You're freaking everybody out. You're freaking out the host. Anyways, we're going to be talking about anti-homeless architecture. Now I know what you're thinking. Anti-homeless architecture? That doesn't sound very entertaining. And to that I say, are you stupid? Awareness is a weapon, and if we're all armed, nothing can stop us. Except an actual weapon, you should look out for those. But we should all be talking about this issue because it affects all of us, which is why I did very minimal research on this topic, and I'm now going to condescendingly teach you about it, like a real YouTuber. So what is anti-homeless architecture? Well, this. It looks familiar, doesn't it? That's because it's the most common way to deter homeless people from public areas. Public accommodations, like benches, are designed to limit what a person can physically do on the bench and for how long, to purposefully keep homeless folk from finding just a little bit of rest. Benches like this, that keep people from laying down or just, being comfortable, are some of the most mild versions of anti-homeless architecture that we'll be seeing today, which will be henceforth called hostile architecture for the sake of me not wanting to say that long-ass phrase over and over again. Other examples of hostile architecture include this metal tube that prevents sitting entirely, little pieces of metal placed on edges to keep people from sitting on them, to just straight up spikes. Like, what the hell, come on. You've got this mini mall looking like a fucking Mario Kart track. Well, you probably knew all of that already. What you don't know, hopefully, is the origin of these structures and the philosophy of hostile architecture. Now, the concept of using one's environment to dissuade certain people and behaviors isn't new and existed throughout all of human history. The main villain that we can assign to this video is an organization called CPTED, which stands for Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. CPTED works to reduce crime in public areas through the manipulation of the surrounding environment. This organization was itself inspired by some fucking nerds like Oscar Newman, Jane Jacobs, and Elizabeth Woods. Newman wrote a book in 1962 called Defensible Space, People and Design in the Violent City, in which he discusses the concept of defensible space. To quote Newman, defensible space is a term used to describe a residential environment whose physical characteristics, building layout, and site plan function to allow inhabitants themselves to become the key agents in ensuring their own security. Essentially state-sanctioned Karens. Notably, Newman almost entirely ignores the reasons why one might turn to crime, instead focusing on otherizing criminal behavior. This is a pattern you'll see a lot, so get used to it. Although Newman's book doesn't specifically mention the homeless or hostile architecture, it does go on to lay the foundation of the philosophy used by CPTED and its hostile architecture practices. So basically, it's all his fault.
You need to leave!
No, I'm just kidding. This issue is comprised of many different bits of ideology proposed by many different people over the course of decades and countless studies by numerous organizations. Yeah, you get it. So it's really all of this fucker's fault. This is C. Ray Jeffrey, a figurehead in the creation of CPTED. This doofus wrote you can hear my finger cracking. This doofus wrote some books about all the different schools of criminology and which ones he's thought were most effective. One of his books in particular, Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design, was the catalyst for CPTED.
Bruh.
The very basic summary is that there are two main schools of criminology used in the US, the classic school and the positive school. The classic school being of deterring crime before it happens through a strict and clear penal code which stands to outweigh the pleasure of committing a crime with the pain of punishment. Using people to set examples, this ideology leaves crime up to the individual with the premise that they'll take moral responsibility when caught and thus receive a harsh sentence. The positive school is one that seeks to rehabilitate offenders through social programs like therapy and financial support to try and strengthen a society as a whole while preventing offenders from repeating a crime. I'll let you guess which one Rayman over here prefers. Because of his works and others like him, the organization of CPTED was formed using the ideology of the classic school of criminology to effectively scare the public into following the laws, creating some core principles to follow when implementing this classic school of criminology in a public environment. Those core principles being territoriality, natural surveillance, access control, activity support, image and management, target hardening, and exclusionary design. Let's do a quick rundown of all of them. Territoriality, create a distinct difference between private and public spaces, allowing residents to perform surveillance and feel more connected with the private areas. Natural surveillance, allowing natural surveillance of an area by opening it up, providing proper lighting, etc. Access control.
Oh, shit. Look at that door, dude. See that door right there? One marked pirate. You think a pirate lives in there?
I see a door marked private. Is that the door you're talking about?
Activity support, promote behaviors the residents can partake in to help identify individuals who don't participate. Image and management, create a healthy and safe image of a residency to promote the feeling of territoriality. Target hardening, the physical restrictions designed to deter criminal behavior. And exclusionary design, promote otherism in the residents so that they may identify who is and isn't a suspect. Examples include uniforms or IDs, that kind of thing. Although SEPTED was formed originally for low-income housing, it has since been used to cover all forms of public areas. As well, the ideas of lowering crime rate through subtle environmental manipulations have grown to encompass all which the state deems unsightly. This has unfortunately broadened to include homeless people, creating places that actively work to deter impoverished people who have nowhere else to go through the harsh physical boundaries is not only fucking stupid, but also works effectively to criminalize homelessness. Ignoring the actual criminalization of homelessness for a sec, hostile architecture creates a cruel and unusual punishment for those who find themselves without home by forcing them to either go without suitable shelter or use unsuitable shelter designed specifically to deter them. It is inexcusably cruel. So we know what hostile architecture is, and we know how it came to be, but what can we actually do about it? Well, gee, I just don't know. I can't possibly think of a way to help these people find a place to sit down. I guess it's just a problem with no solution. Look, obviously there's raising awareness and speaking out to your local representatives, but that's boring. And I'm already doing that. You dick riders. Instead, consider joining or creating mutual aid shares to help distribute supplies necessary for survival to those who need it. Direct donations are always the best option when trying to provide help, and in a time like now where cities have defined a clear distinction between eyesores and citizen, there's no shortage of people who need your help. Show SEPTED, Rayman, the judicial system, and whoever else that we will not abandon our brethren. We are capable of creating change, of helping others, if we all band together and rise up to those that the state determines to leave behind. Not only can we put our strength into a community, our community, but demonstrate that we will not lie down to allow injustice to run its course. We as humans are capable of banding together, and when we do, we are stronger than any force sent our way. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm not very good at making them. Feel free to subscribe, or don't. I'm not your mom. I'm your dad. Yeah, that's all. Bye. I'm not a furry, by the way. I just like this little dude.